Chapter 60-67. With the TV running, they were both half lying on the sofa, each scrolling through their mobile phones. Claire has not returned from the United States, and Charlie has been out for many days. From the beginning, the enemies fought every day, and gradually became tired and exhausted, and evolved into the most familiar strangers. Although the two were under the same roof, there was almost no communication between them. Charlie pushed the door open and came in. Both of them subconsciously stood up from the sofa, looked at Charlie in surprise, and said in unison, "The good son-in-law is back." After saying that, the two of them looked at each other with disgust, as if they were both disappointed with the tacit understanding just now. Jacob was about to take a step forward to talk to Charlie. Elaine had already limped to his side. She twisted his BU.TT to the side hard, catching Jacob off guard. He immediately lost his center of gravity and waved. After a long time, his arms couldn't regain their center of gravity, so he could only stumble back to sit on the sofa. Jacob looked up angrily. Elaine had already reached Charlie and said with a flattering face, "Oh, my dear son-in-law, why did you come back at this time and didn't say hello to Mom in advance? Have you eaten yet? Do you want Mom to get you something?" Charlie smiled and said, "Don't bother, Mom, I've eaten." Jacob stood up quickly, walked up to him, and said, "Good son-in-law, how are you? You left for a long time." Charlie smiled and said, "The business volume this time is relatively large. I visited several houses and factories in a row. The main reason is that this customer is strong." "Oh," Elaine said happily, "so he must pay a lot of money, right?" "That's right." Charlie nodded and said casually, "This customer is very willing to give money. Before I came back, he even paid an extra $1 million for carriage fees." Elaine exclaimed, "My dear! Gave you $1 million for the carriage fee? What kind of magical customer is this?" She thought of something at this time and said to Charlie quickly, "Good son-in-law, I read on the news that the youngest son of the richest man in India got married, and the pre-wedding party alone cost more than $100 million. The equivalent of RMB is already over 1 billion. You said that if you could find a customer like this and provide him with feng shui for the location of his wedding, then it would be worth tens of millions of dollars to you." Charlie laughed dumbly and said, "It's almost the same, but I don't know the customers in India. I guess I won't be able to make this kind of money." Jacob pulled Charlie to sit down on the sofa and said, "Good son-in-law, you should take a longer sight. Always showing feng shui to Chinese people is a kind of cultural obstruction. Our Chinese civilization has a long history, but most foreigners don't believe it. Let's forget it. Many young people in our country don't believe in the wisdom left by our ancestors. They would rather study zodiac signs and tarot cards all day long than study the things of our ancestors. So tell me, why should we allow foreigners to study our feng shui secrets and the I Ching Bagua?" Charlie felt that what Jacob said was reasonable, but his thoughts were a bit wistful. If we look at history, both Eastern and Western cultures can be said to have a long history. And even the East has had even worse, but the West has seized on the golden 40 years in the late World War II. In these 40 years, the world's cultural, commodity, and financial exchanges have become increasingly close. And the speed of cultural dissemination has naturally been astonishingly fast. So their recent modern culture is the most widely spread. Things like horoscopes, just like Hollywood movies, have already swept the world. However, if the secret technique of feng shui and the I Ching Bagua wants to sweep the West, it still needs a long way to go. However, Charlie did not argue with Jacob, but just smiled and said, "Dad, you are right, cultural confidence and cultural output are both important. When there are opportunities in the future, I will definitely go overseas to promote feng shui." Jacob couldn't help but sigh. "Sometimes I have the urge to sacrifice my old bones and promote China's long history and culture to the world." As he said, he couldn't help but sigh, "I don't understand feng shui. Like you, if I was also a feng shui master, I have to go to the White House in the United States to give them a good look. Tell them how to transform the White House to make their feng shui better. When the time comes, the American TV station will report it. Hey! Jacob, a feng shui master from China, was invited by His Excellency the President to visit the United States to solve the feng shui dilemma for the White House. His superb feng shui attainments were praised by the President. "It's amazing! It's amazing!" Elaine blurted out, "Jacob, let me show you what you can do, and you even want to show feng shui to the White House of the United States. Why don't you go next door to show Horia feng shui and help her become famous as soon as possible?" Jacob was embarrassed and said, "Isn't this just chatting? If I were really a feng shui master, could I show Horia the feng shui? It would be a bad idea for her." Seeing that the two of them were arguing again, Charlie shook his head helplessly. At this time, the mobile phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw that it was a video call from Claire. Jacob and Elaine happened to be in the living room, so Charlie said to them, "Mom, Dad, Claire is making a video call, I will pick it up." The two agreed quickly, and then they were no longer hostile to each other. So Charlie pressed answer without hesitation. After the video connection was successful, Claire's delicate and soft face appeared on the phone screen. Seeing Charlie, she said in surprise, "Husband, you are home." Charlie nodded, "I just came back." As he said that, he moved his phone and connected Jacob and Elaine in. Jacob asked with concern, "When will my daughter come back?" "Dad misses you." Elaine said quickly, "Good girl, don't listen to your dad's nonsense. Although Mom misses you too, it's hard for you to be with the American Faye family now. What a great opportunity this is, you must put your career first. If it doesn't work, Mom will go to the United States to take care of you." Claire said with a smile, "Mom, I made the call to Charlie just to say this. I just finished a morning meeting with Ms. Faye and the others. There are some legal issues with the project in the United States. It needs to be suspended for a while. The specific time has not been determined yet, so I plan to return." Elaine heard this. After hearing this, she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and said, "Then the eldest Faye family still can't solve some legal issues?" Claire said with a smile, "Whether we can solve it or not, we have to go through judicial channels after the lawyer intervenes." Elaine said, "What I mean is, don't they have the ability to solve the problem directly in one step?" Claire could only explain, "No matter how rich you are, you must abide by the law. Since it is a legal matter, the problem must be solved in the legal field." Forget it, Elaine said, a little disappointed. "I originally said that I would go to the United States to accompany you for a few days. Now you are coming back." With that, Elaine said, "By the way, girl, they won't use this as a reason to delay your salary, right? I am telling you, you must not let them do this kind of thing. It is their problem that caused the project to be suspended. And you can't lose even a penny of money for that matter." Claire said helplessly, "Mom, why do you talk about money all the time?" Elaine said with a serious face, "In the real world, what's the point of talking if you don't talk about money? Are you talking about a relationship?" Seeing that Elaine was so disappointed, Charlie quickly said, "Claire, when will you come back? Have you set a time?" Claire said, "I want to share the information about the project here first. I will seal the progress and solve the remaining problems. If there are no other problems, I will hurry up and go back. If I can't finish it tomorrow, it will be the day after tomorrow at the latest."